Have you ever had one of those days where it just feels like the universe has a personal vendetta against you?
Oh, yeah.
You know exactly the vibe I'm talking about. There's like construction noise outside your window that feels like it's vibrating your actual skull.
Oh.
Then you go to take a sip of coffee and you spill a single tiny drop on your clean shirt.
And that's it. That's the moment.
That is the moment. Suddenly you are ready to absolutely snap at the next person who looks at you sideways. It's that feeling where everything, no matter how small, feels like the final straw.
It feels catastrophic.
Totally.
That's universal experience, though. I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
But the material we are diving into today suggests that this volatility, it isn't actually about the coffee.
Right.
It's not about the traffic, and it's not even about the construction noise. It suggests those are just triggers revealing a much deeper issue, your physiological baseline.
That is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into the philosophy of being unbothered based on some really compelling content from the creator Simona Squared.
hmm But I want to be clear right off the bat because I think this term gets misused constantly online. We are not talking about being cold. We are not talking about being aloof or, acting like you're too cool to care.
And that's a crucial distinction to make early on. The source material frames this concept as emotional self-restriction.
Okay.
It's actually a practice rooted in nervous system regulation. So the goal isn't to suppress your humanity or become a robot. It's to stop letting other people's chaotic actions derail your entire existence.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty specific. We're going to decode the difference between just bottling things up, which we all know is bad,
Right.
versus genuinely being detached. We're going to look at why we cling to people who clearly don't serve us. We have a character study coming up about a guy named Loser Jim that I think will resonate with, well, probably too many of us.
Loser Jim is a painful mirror for a lot of people, myself included at times.
Absolutely. And finally, we're going to give you a litmus test, a specific tool to figure out if you're actually valued in your relationships. But let's start at the foundation.
Okay.
The source opens with a pretty bold claim. If you are easily bothered, if you feel like you're constantly fighting off emotional attacks from the world, the problem might not be the world.
The problem might be a dysregulated nervous system.
Exactly.
This is the physiological anchor of the entire argument. We often think of emotions as these, abstract mental clouds, but they're physical, they're biological. When your nervous system is dysregulated, usually meaning you're stuck in a sympathetic fight or flight state or a freeze state, you don't feel secure. You just don't feel safe in your own body.
You're operating in a state of hypervigilance. You're constantly scanning for threats.
Precisely. And the source makes a fascinating point here. Without that internal safety, you have no buffer. You have no shock absorbers for life.
They use a metric here that I found really helpful to visualize this, the 1% minus 100% rule. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. It's a way to measure your baseline reactivity.
Yeah.
So imagine a scenario. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Standard annoyance.
It happens every day.
Right. If you are a regulated, calm person with a secure baseline, that event affects you about 1%. It's a blip on the radar. You might tap the brakes, maybe sigh, and you move on.
Because your internal world is stable, so the external disruption can't really shake the foundation.
Right. But if you are dysregulated, that exact same action being cut off affects you 100%.
Wow.
You absorb the full impact, your heart rate spikes, you're screaming at the windshield, you're ruining your morning, maybe you carry that anger into your first meeting. You are just volatile because you're already teetering on the edge.
It reminds me of the analogy of walking around with a severe sunburn. If you have a horrible sunburn and someone high-fives you, you're going to scream in pain and probably get angry at them. But the high five wasn't an attack. The sunburn made it feel like one.
That's the perfect analogy. And this leads to what the source calls the blame game. When we're the ones with the sunburn, we rarely say, oops, my skin is sensitive. We say, why did you hit me? You hurt me.
They did this to me.
Exactly. We look outward. We blame the external trigger. But the source argues that the common denominator in all these conflicts is actually your own internal instability. If you're ready to snap, inevitably, someone is going to make you snap.
This connects directly to the concept of boundaries. The expert in the source says if you don't know your boundaries or values, everything bothers you. Why is that connection so strong?
Because without boundaries, you're porous. You have no filter. If you don't know who you are or what you stand for, you let everything in.
You take everything personal.
You do, because you haven't defined what is you and what is them. The source explicitly links this to dating. If you don't know what you want, you end up spending time on the wrong things and the wrong people.
And because they are out of alignment with you, their actions just constantly grate on your nerves.
That phrase, out of alignment, is key. The source suggests that when you are truly aligned, when you're staying in your own lane disruptive behavior from others, it doesn't even resonate.
So it's not that you're ignoring it.
No, it's that it literally doesn't make sense to you. It's like someone speaking a different language. You don't get angry at the grammar. You just realize you aren't part of that conversation. It just doesn't land.
Which brings us to the core concept of detachment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, this is where I think people get tripped up. Detachment often sounds like apathy. It sounds like, I don't care about anything, I'm just floating through life.
Well, the source defines it differently. They define detachment specifically as not prioritizing the outcome.
That is a massive shift in perspective.
It is. It's moving from, I need this specific thing to happen for me to be okay, to, I am okay, regardless of what happens.
That's a superpower. I mean, if you can actually master that, you're invincible.
It is.
Yeah.
And to get there, the source recommends a specific mental exercise called the many ways theory.
I loved this. It's about separating the feeling you want from the vehicle you think delivers it.
Exactly. Say the feeling you want is love or security or excitement. Those are valid needs. We all want those.
Sure.
But then you meet a person or you interview for a specific job, and your brain decides, okay, this specific person is the only delivery system for that love.
You walk in, you decide the package is the prize.
And that's where the trap snaps shut. You start pedestaling them. You mold them in your mind to be the person who can provide that feeling, even if their actual behavior shows otherwise.
And you cling to them.
You do, because you've confused the source of the feeling with the feeling itself. You think if you lose the person, you lose the possibility of love.
Which brings us to a painfully relatable example used in the source.
Okay.
We need to talk about loser Jim.
Ah, yes. The loser Jim phenomenon.
I think everyone knows a loser Jim, or has dated a loser Jim, or maybe has been a loser Jim. So the source paints this picture. There's a woman holding on for dear life to this guy. And let's look at Jim's resume. He's not treating her well. He's flaky. He's emotionally unavailable. Maybe he doesn't even have a job. Objectively, looking from the outside, Jim is not a catch.
He's a walking red flag collection.
But she is hanging on so tightly. She's stressing, checking her phone, trying to fix him, asking her friends for advice. Why?
The source says it's pure scarcity mindset. She genuinely believes that loser Jim is the only man in the world who offers this specific package of traits that she has somehow translated into love.
It's tragic, but it highlights how fear drives attachment. She isn't attached to Jim, really.
No, she's attached to the fear that there is no one else. She's afraid of the empty space, so she accepts scraps from Jim. She thinks, well, crumbs are better than starving.
And the counter to this, the unbothered approach, is the abundance mindset. There's a quote here that hit me pretty hard. Man's rejection is God's protection.
It's a powerful sentiment. And whether you're religious or not, the principle stands. It's a reframe. It suggests that if something isn't working out, if loser Jim is pulling away, it's not a loss.
It's a correction.
It's the trash taking itself out.
It's exactly.
If you operate with an abundance mindset, you believe that something better is always available. You don't cling to things that don't fit because you trust that you can't miss what is actually meant for you.
And when you have that belief, rejection doesn't sting the same way.
It just signals, wrong direction, try the next door.
It really takes the pressure off. You don't have to force the square peg into the round hole, but we do force it, don't we? The source talks about how we become storytellers when things are ambiguous.
Oh, the narrative spinning. The source warns specifically against this. When we are insecure or when we are dealing with a loser Jim, we create these elaborate stories around other people's silence.
The classic spiral. He didn't text back. Maybe he's busy. Maybe he's intimidated by my success. Maybe he lost his phone in a river.
Maybe his grandma is sick. We give them so much credit. And the source is very blunt about this. Stop it. Stop digging for meaning in ambiguity. Especially in the context of dating, the source argues that men are often very black and white.
Yeah.
If they want to, they will. If they aren't, they don't want to.
It's harsh, but it cuts through the noise. And to help cut through that noise even faster, they offer a specific litmus test.
Yes.
The mute test. This was honestly my favorite takeaway from this entire deep dive. It's so simple, but I can see how difficult it would be to actually apply it in the heat of the moment.
It is incredibly effective because it bypasses our tendency to rationalize.
So the test is this. You ask yourself, if this person was mute, if they couldn't say a single word, would I feel loved by their actions?
Think about what that strips away.
Everything.
It strips away the, I'm sorry, it strips away the, I love you, it's the, I promise I'll do better next time, the, you're the only one for me.
Yeah.
All the sweet talk that keeps you hooked.
It leaves you with just the raw data. Did they show up? Did they support you? Did they make you feel safe? Did they remember the thing that was important to you?
Exactly. If you have to listen to the words to believe the love is there, but the actions are telling a completely different story, you have your answer. Words are easy. Behavior is the truth.
The mute test forces you to look at the reality of the situation, not the potential.
It's brutal, but it clears up the confusion instantly.
And it ties back to this idea of focus. The source has this great aphorism: winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners.
That's about tunnel vision versus peripheral distraction.
Break that down for us. How does that apply to being unbothered?
Well, if you are constantly checking someone's Instagram following, seeing who they added, analyzing their location, wondering who that girl in the background is,
Yeah.
you are focusing on them.
Right.
You are the spectator in your own life. You've given your power away. You're obsessing over the winner, or at least the person holding the power, instead of focusing on your own game.
You're in their lane looking at their car while yours is veering off the road.
Right. The unbothered person is so focused on their own trajectory, their own growth, their own joy, that they literally don't have the bandwidth to stalk someone else's social media.
It's not that they are restraining themselves.
No, it's that they're too busy building their own life.
It's selective investment. Not everyone deserves your energy. If someone is acting out of alignment with you, the response shouldn't be obsession. It should be disinterest.
However, and this is a critical distinction we need to make, we need to address how you handle the emotions that do come up.
Yes.
Because the source is very careful to clarify that unbothered does not mean numb.
I'm glad we're circling back to this because I think detachment can easily be confused with avoidance. You know, I'll just shove this feeling down, pretend I don't care, and go to the gym mentality.
And the source says that is dangerous. If you numb yourself, you aren't processing the emotion. It gets stuck in the body. The source actually explicitly links this repression to physical illness later down the line.
The body keeps the score.
It does. If you swallow the anger, it doesn't disappear. It just becomes something else inside you.
So what is the correct methodology here? If loser Jim upsets you or you get passed over for a promotion but you want to remain unbothered, what do you actually do in that moment?
You have to feel it. But there's a specific way to feel it. The source advises you to sit with the emotion somatically.
Somatically meaning in the body.
Yes. Instead of going into your head and spinning a story, he did this because he's a jerk, or I'm unlovable, or this always happens to me, you drop into the body. Where is this feeling? Is it a tightness in the chest, a pit in the stomach, a heat in the throat? You acknowledge the sensation, you let it be there without judging it, and then, this is the key, you let it pass.
You don't wallow.
Wallowing is mental. Wallowing is telling stories about the feeling. Processing is just feeling the sensation until it dissipates. It's like a wave. You let it wash over you, and then you stand back up. You don't build a house under the wave.
That seems like a delicate balance. Feeling it without drowning in it.
It is. And it's especially hard during what the source calls the void state.
The void state. This sounds like a sci-fi movie, but they describe it as a very specific life stage.
It's that uncomfortable transition period. Think of a trapeze artist. You've let go of the old bar, the old relationship, the old job, the old version of you, but you haven't caught the new bar yet.
You are floating in midair.
Exactly.
And that is terrifying for most people. We want certainty. We want to know what's next immediately. We'd almost rather grab the old bar again, go back to the toxic ex, than float in the air.
But the source argues that if you panic in the void, you mess up the process. The advice is to embrace the unknown. There was a fascinating line from the material. Certainty collapses timelines.
That sounds deep. What does that actually mean in practice?
It means that if you can maintain a sense of internal certainty that the new thing is coming, even while you're sitting in the empty, dark void, you actually speed up the arrival of the new life. If you cling to the old because you're scared of the empty space, you stay stuck in the past. You block the upgrade.
So Embracing the fear of the unknown is actually the shortcut. That's counterintuitive but makes so much sense. It requires a massive amount of trust.
It requires a shift in validation. This is the final major pillar the source discusses. You have to move from external metrics to internal metrics.
This is the difference between do I look good to others and do I feel good to me?
Exactly. The source mentions things like likes on Instagram, fancy cars, physical beauty. These are external metrics. They are fragile because they depend entirely on other people's perception.
If the audience stops clapping, your worth disappears.
Yeah, it's a precarious way to live. You're constantly dancing for approval. The unbothered person operates on internal metrics. Am I aligned with my values? Am I making decisions that feel right to me?
When you source your validation from within, you become, as the source puts it, untouchable.
You aren't asking for permission to feel valuable.
And when you have that internal value, you stop negotiating it. The source says, never negotiate your value. Someone either sees it or they don't. And to bring this home, they use an analogy that I absolutely loved. Okay.
It involves Gilmore Girls and a Birkin bag.
I suspect this is going to be a favorite for many listeners. It's such a pop culture specific reference, but the logic is flawless.
Okay, so I have to set the scene for those who haven't seen the show or need a refresher. There's a character, Logan, who is very wealthy. He gives his girlfriend, Rory, a Birkin bag. Now, for the fashion uninitiated, a Birkin is the holy grail. It's worth tens of thousands of dollars. People spend years on waiting lists just for the chance to buy one.
It's a symbol of immense value, craftsmanship, and status. It's an investment piece.
Right. But Rory, she's a bookworm. She's practical. She literally doesn't know what a Birkin is. So she opens it, looks confused, and says, oh, cool, a bag.
Yeah.
And then, this is the painful part for any fashion lover, she starts throwing it around. She jams her tangled computer cords into it. She fills it with old gum wrappers. She uses it like a grocery tote.
And Logan is panicking, saying, Rory, be careful, that's a Birkin. Yes. And the analogy here is profound. You can be the Birkin bag. You can be valuable, rare, exquisite, and full of potential. But if you are in the hands of a Rory, someone who doesn't understand or value what a Birkin is, you're just a sack to hold computer cords.
And the kicker is, it doesn't mean the bag is worthless.
Not at all.
The bag didn't lose value because Rory used it for cords. It just means it's in the wrong hands.
Exactly. Rory wasn't evil for this. She would have valued a first edition Charles Dickens book way more.
She wasn't wrong for not liking the bag, and the bag wasn't wrong for being a bag. They were just mismatched.
So the lesson isn't to try and scream at Rory, look at my stitching, look at my leather, I am valuable, please treat me like a Birkin.
No, that's what we do with Loser Jim. We try to convince him of our worth. The lesson is to take the bag to someone who appreciates high fashion. You have to go where you are valued.
If you're spending your time trying to convince someone that you're a catch, you're the Birkin bag in Rory's hands.
You are negotiating your value with someone who doesn't have the currency to pay for it.
That is such a clear way to visualize it. It stops being about, I'm not good enough, and starts being about, I'm in the wrong room.
Precisely. And that realization is what allows you to truly detach.
Yeah.
You don't get bothered by Rory not liking the bag. You just realize, oh, she's not the target audience. And you move on without bitterness.
It's neutral. It's just data. And that neutrality is really the goal of everything we've talked about today.
It is.
So let's bring this all together. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have. We started with the physiology understanding that being bothered is often just a dysregulated nervous system, and the goal is to widen that buffer, so an annoyance is just a 1% bump, not a catastrophe.
We talked about the mute test, ignoring the pretty words, and looking strictly at whether a person's silent actions make you feel safe and loved.
We discussed the danger of the void state and why we cling to Loser Jim out of scarcity. We emphasized the importance of sitting with your emotions somatically rather than numbing them out.
And finally, realizing that you cannot negotiate your value with someone who doesn't have the capacity to see it. You have to be willing to walk away to find the place where you are the Birkin, not the tote bag.
The overarching theme here is really about internal alignment. When you are truly aligned with yourself, when you know your values, your boundaries, and your worth disruptions from the outside world just don't land the same way.
Yeah.
Being unbothered isn't a performance. It isn't an act you put on to impress people. It's a side effect of being secure.
It's not something you do, it's something you become.
Exactly.
Before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with a provocative thought based on what we read today. I want you to think about the one thing that is stressing you out the most right now. The thing that is keeping you up at night, checking your phone, or feeling tight in your chest.
And ask yourself, is it stressing you out because of what it actually is? Or is it stressing you out because you are trying to force a specific outcome that simply might not be meant for you?
Are you holding on to loser Jim because you're afraid of the void? Are you trying to sell a Birkin to a Rory?
Sometimes the most unbothered thing you can do is simply let go of the rope.
Something to chew on. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Take care, everyone.